those were two acceptable types of science that you could do. The other, of course, is I always joke that I have know people that basically they ended up working as the illustrator for their husband's work, and they knew just as much about what he was doing, but they never got the credit. They didn't even get their name on the illustrations, which is just really annoying. So, anyway, in 1931, the museum received 2,500 specimens from Eden. Now, it's a really cool collection. Most of it's personally collected, but she did trade with everybody. She made a name for herself doing this, and she literally traded with everybody. There are her collections in the British Museum. There are some over in Paris. So literally her stuff got spread all over the place, which is really cool. 85% of the collection is from the US, but it also includes material from 10 different countries, including this really funky collection that she purchased that's mosses of Brazil. I know.
Okay.
But even better, it has type specimens in it. Does everybody know what a type specimen is? That's the gold standard. That's basically what you use. That specimen is what you use to compare all your other material to tell you that that is that type of material. This is what this species is supposed to look like. That's the type specimen. And a lot of times what people do is then they look at this and say, okay, that one's the same, and other things travel so that you have more to look at. But the fact of the matter is that there are type specimens sitting there of Brazilian moss. It's just crazy. The other thing is, we could never get this collection again because Brazil is one of the countries that have really, really strict laws about taking any sort of natural material out of the country anymore. So there's no way we'd ever have this now. It's just crazy. But one of the things we're like, why? Why was she into this, right? So we've been looking, trying to find these things out about her. A number of us, myself, Nick, we even had a historian, a local historian, looking into it because we don't have a lot of information, but we got a lot of little clues. So we're trying to piece together her story. We know that she was born in 1867. Lots of information on her father. He was the architect who built who designed the Iowa Soldiers Orphans Home and the Davenport City Hall. You'd think there'd be a lot of information about the family then, right? Yeah, not so much.
Susan, any relation?
I was going to say,
We're trying.
because I'm going to do an ask at the end. One of the cool things we found out is that she and a bunch of other high school seniors, Davenport High School, created herbaria in their senior year. And we were trying to figure out, why? Why would you do this? I mean, I think it's a little too early for 4-H. What did 4-H do? Does anybody know? I think it's a little too early for 4-H. So why did they do this sort of thing? It was like in the 1880s and 1890s. And actually, we have several of those collections. So we have other high school students from Davenport High School from the 1880s and 1890s. That's just crazy, right? Because a lot of what they're collecting is local. So it's like, and then you compare like in the 50s to what Giltner collected. It's like, hey, look, they're still growing in the same place, or nothing even close to being in the same place. You know? So we were trying to come up with reasons why this might happen. And lo and behold, did anybody know that Davenport was like a hotbed for botanists in the 1880s?
Wow.
This is just crazy. The high school principal at the time was Frederick Stratton. And he was actually a trained botanist who collected in Central America. I mean, these people went everywhere. It's just so crazy. And at the Davenport Academy at that time, C.C. Perry, Charles Christopher Perry, yeah. He was heading up the academy around that time, maybe a little later. He is a well-known botanist. Lots of collections, particularly West, California, Colorado, that sort of thing. And he was president of the academy for a while. So there's all these links. But all that aside, we're thinking maybe the real reason that she got into botany was that she joined the Agassiz Association. The Agassiz Association was, let me get this so I can see what I'm doing here, sorry. Whoops, too far. Basically, I think it was founded around mid-1880s, and it was to promote the study of natural science and to promote conservation. And one of the things is we had a chapter that started in 1885. She joined right around that time because in 1886, Davenport hosted the second National Agassiz Association. And through all these people, you met all these other people that are interested in botany and things like that, which is really cool. Now, so we may have a reason why she got into botany. It's like there's C.C. Perry was in on this, a bunch of the Davenport Academy people were in on this, and then you have all these other people from all over the country that are teaching people a lot about plants and animals. Lots of birds and plants. Two favorites, right? One thing I like to note is, see all these women? That's pretty cool. That's 1886. When she joined the academy, they had to change the membership rules. There were people that walked out of the Agassiz Association because they changed it and allowed women in. You just can't win, right? So obviously she was associated with these people, probably got interested in botany about that time, somewhere around that time with the high school and everything else. So it's really cool that we think that we actually have her stuff here. But, all the conjecture aside, we know one thing she did for sure. In July of 1890, her and her father took a train trip out to Yellowstone Park. And she collected all the way along that trip. And she collected in Yellowstone Park. She gave us something like 107 specimens that are from Yellowstone from 1890. She's one of the early people collecting in Yellowstone. It's really cool. So we have stuff that she collected at geysers, canyons, rivers, but the coolest stuff she collected was at the hot springs. Because if you think about a hot spring, not a lot lives there, right? It's not a very nice place. So what she collected was a bunch of endemic specimens. They're called endemic because they basically live there and nowhere else. And one of those things she collected doesn't look like much. It's a grass. Somehow, either through her sending it to him or however it got to it, George Vasey of the Smithsonian ended up with a specimen. And he looked at it, he said, it's a new species. It's an endemic species from the hot springs in Yellowstone. And he named it, guess what? Agrastea rossii.
Oh.
Rossii, which is basically Ross's bank grass. So she has this specimen named after her. Now, this is in the Smithsonian. You know, we do have